Good morning, everybody. Hey, Chris Gordon here, new Pragmatic. It is, it's a quiet Memorial Day morning. Everybody here is sleeping. It's a good time to get in and do a little bit of work. We are keeping it kind of low key. Got three people in here though, and that's pretty big for a holiday weekend. So I'm super excited about that. Also waiting for CouchBot to kick in. I typically go up a notch when CouchBot finally fires into the Discord channel to let everybody know that I am live and broadcasting. But we are I'm just actually closing down a few files at the moment that I know that I don't need for this this round, and we're gonna get Rebecca back in here. I'm also turning really weird because I strained the left side of my neck. So if I look a little bit like a weirdo, just know that that's what's up. Gonna go ahead and update VS Code while we're here too, because I've been needing to do that actually for a while. We'll see if it's back. It's typically pretty fast, so and sure enough, it's right back. I know Rebecca is working on her Cellwise project, so I'll go ahead and get that pulled in while we're waiting on CouchBot to do its thing. It was a really busy weekend of writing. Wrote a ton for the new Pragmatic Fresh Market project. That project is it's going to be 27 lessons deep or exercises deep when everything's all said and done. And to be honest with you, I could make it longer, which is, you know, it's shocking, and then yet it's not, because projects can be very detailed. You can go into a lot of different directions, or they can be very simple. One of the new projects that I released for the UX program was like 3 exercises long, but it was really focused on getting you into the idea of doing some research and then presenting back your findings. And I think presenting your work is pretty crucial, frankly, and anytime you have an opportunity to present your work, you should seize it. So CouchBot's fired, so I'm going to go ahead and start, but I'm going to again kind of keep it a little low key because frankly my neck is killing me. All right, Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. It's happy Memorial Day for everybody who's following along. We've got Luigi in here. We've got Rebecca in here. We've got Chelsea in here. And I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not necessarily going to share my screen for some of this because it's just written. But I'm going to go ahead and start with Chelsea. And she's just getting started in the UX program. We talk about this concept of a wicked problem, and a lot of people have tacked this in different ways. I've had people talk about package delivery at their house, and how dealing with that during a pandemic is difficult, and it's kind of always shifting. And that by definition is what a wicked problem is. It's just something that where the variables of it are kind of constantly in flux. We talk about wicked problems and we identify them because they are problems that you have to put research against to solve. It's not like you can close your eyes and see an obvious solution. In Chelsea's case, she's talking about how career transition is the wicked problem. There is a high cost of it has a high cost associated with it beyond just dollars. There's also the time aspect of it. Um, there are a lot of different people in her ear telling her, "Oh, you should do this or you should do that." Even the concept of changing your career can draw ire on moving away from your current career, what career you should be moving to, and how you should be going about doing that. And you have three different flex points there that can draw a pro and a con, or a this way or that way sort of reaction from people. Um, that means that is definitely a wicked problem. It also means that it's likely a issue where you're going to have to choose for yourself what the best solution is. And the bigger issue is that you can't necessarily prescribe that solution to somebody else. And that is definitely a bespoke problem that it's going to take a high amount of research, but then it's not really applicable to someone else, except you can show somebody else when you get to the other side of this. You can show somebody what you did, and they can use it as research for their process of reinvention, if you will. And I do think that it's, when we talk about this, these are definitely moments of reinvention, but they really take a while to kind of sort out. And then there's always these unexpecteds. Okay, in the middle of doing your reinvention, doing a career transition, nobody would have predicted a pandemic, right? Or few people predict an illness. Like, even if there wasn't a pandemic going on, there could be something else that throws you off track. I've had loved ones get sick in the middle of school, and they have to lose a semester or lose a year, or you have a loved one go down, and I've known students to have to change directions to go take care of an ailing family member. Then there's, beyond just yourself, there's things that are, there's a lot of people getting laid off. There are financial hardships that people suffer from. I've also seen people get thrown off by just, a weather event. Like, I've had students have their houses flooded from hurricanes and things like that. So there's lots of different things that go into this transition period that aren't even on your board. And some of that is protective. Like, if you considered all the possible things that could go wrong, would you even move? Would you take the first step forward? So definitely a wicked problem. Uniquely suited for you to solve, but this is one of those things where part of it is research, right? You got to kind of do your research before you get started, and then part of it's just faith that you're going to make it through to the other side. Not something that not something I would look at like. I don't want to put a lot of faith into our products. I think what I'm looking for with our products is trust. Can we create something that people trust, right? You don't want to go with a product and say just have faith in me. But it is similar. It is similar. The concept of faith and trust are very similar. You can trust this product to be here for you down the road. Can I? Is there anything that you can do that with? Well, that's what we do when we build products and services. You sign up for things, including what we're doing right now. The first people that jumped on board, well, how do I know feedback loop's going to happen every day hereafter? When it hadn't happened before. So the first people who jumped in, they started the loop with me, and then it took off from there. So I know something firsthand about kind of getting that ball rolling. Career transition is really no different than beginning a new entity. People do creative endeavors. Businesses, could be a business, could be a band, could be anything. But these wicked problems, they constantly shift day in and day out, and you're constantly kind of researching and trying and doing different things. In many ways, that's what UX is. In many ways, that's what UX is. It's the trying of different things. It's the doing the research to support the decision making, and then it's trusting that putting the effort in is going to generate a result on the other side. So, really good, look at how you're framing the wicked problem. My only goal is that we're thinking about problems in terms of non-binary. Non-binary. There isn't a right or wrong, clear-cut answer to a lot of the problems that you're going to try to tackle in UX. They're difficult problems, and one of the things that I talk about, I get this question a lot over on Quora. Will design ever be replaced by computers? And the answer is some of it. Yeah, some of it. And there's a book, Lorraine Justice, The Future of Design. And she talks specifically in that book about how good designers will see augmented reality, or not augmented reality, artificial intelligence as a benefit. They'll see it as a tool, something to help them make decisions, not a something that's going to eradicate their position. And it's because artificial intelligence can help us see the options, but it's going to be very difficult for it to pick up all the different variables that are moving before it comes in. So I think the human is going to play the role of the feeder, if you will, for artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence is going to then produce a range of outcomes, not unlike Doctor Strange in Infinity War, where he's blinking and doing this crazy thing, and he spots like 4 million possible outcomes, and then there's only one that will work. Kind of like that. You'll be the Iron Man, and the AI will be Doctor Strange. A little comic book moment for you. But by and large, the reason why I believe design is a safe place to be is because we deal, and our stock and trade is in wicked problems that are very difficult to define, and therefore we have to have our hands in it. So with that, I'm going to move on. We've got a couple more visual things to look at. If I can find my way back to OBS. OBS, where did you go? Share my screen. Let's get into this. We're going to go over to Figma now. And Luigi's done his, he's hopping in here to Visual Foundation. And Visual Foundation, I provide a couple of different approaches based on IBM Plex Sans and Plex Sans Serif, and we have this pairing exercise. So I ask that students go through and come up with some other options, some other possible pairings. Luigi's gone a bit overboard here, but I like it. I want to see what he's come up with, and he's got Nuha's Unica. And it looks like he's also using that for the body. And then Kaluna, I guess Kaluna only has maybe the one weight. Yeah, it looks like it's just regular, and I don't have that typography to load it, so I'm just going to be previewing what you have here, Luigi. So, what we're basically looking for is options that will give us contrast. And in both of these cases, I really like, it's funny, Kaluna wasn't showing up. The weights weren't really showing up here, or maybe you just hadn't given it over to those weights. But I do see a lot of nuance. There's a lot of stroke modulation in here when I look at the characters, how it works. Yeah, I really like Kaluna. One thing I've noticed over time is that I really dislike serifs in buttons. It just feels odd to me to see a serif in a button. Buttons are, I don't know. I wouldn't rule. I would never say that I never want to see a serif in a button, but it's definitely one of those things that it just feels odd to me every time I see it. Artificial intelligence. So like here you're using just weight for the difference. Here you're really pushing it out there. Again, this has got a nice contrast as well. So that's nice. Let's take a look. Sophia Pro and Mackinac. So you've got some different weights here that are a little more obvious. As we get in, this is a really nice contrast. The thing that I like here a lot is I like the fact that the structure of the typography is pretty wide. Both of them are fairly wide, and I look at things like the A's. Like this is a very geometric A. This is not. And I look at those little things and I go, I don't know. I wish that they would share. They would have common shapes between the characters, but that's not everything in the world. I do like that. What was that again? Is it Sophia? I do like that Sophia in the button. That's kind of nice. It's got some options there. Yeah, so Sophia and Mackinac, that's not bad. That's a possibility. New Husk, Grotesque, Display Pro, and Freight Display. Boy, Freight is, you get into these lighter weights and it's really difficult. Freight Display though, so this is the interesting thing we get into to display. We've got a display option and we got a body option, but you've got display typography on both of these. So while I love the options here, I would want to go back and look for a grotesque text to utilize here instead of display, and yeah, all of these are missing. So that's fine. That's not a big deal. But I wouldn't want to use like here, you're using Nuhas Grotesque display as a body text basically, and I wouldn't want to do that. Also, these are really tight. I'd want to like adjust the. Want to adjust the kerning there a bit, because this is too tight. It's hard to read. And I think that this is where if you went the other direction, like this is fine. This is freight. Freight is fine here, but when you get down into you don't even use it as a body, but you want to look at freight. Although it's kind of weird. This looks like it's still Plex Sans. Or that's Plex, yeah, and this is Plex Sans. So I don't think you actually completed this portion over here. Maybe you abandoned this one on the cards. Let's take a look at what you got up here. So Nimbus and Minion. Okay, so Minion's got some weights. Minion's a beautiful old style. So Nimbus, let's take a look at what you've come up with. Is that really? Oh, cancel. It's not loaded for me, so I can't do much with that. we get down here, and sorry, minion. So this is like it works. It works with minion taking the lead. I'm not sure how I feel much about if I like I'm drawn to Nimbus much. I do think that the new Haas is just a little bit better. Although I look at this and I go negative. It's like we're -4%. I don't think you have to be -4%. That's a bit much. Here you're -4% as well, but it's still got quite a bit of error in it. So the 4% might work okay over here on Nimbus. Artificial intelligence, image recognition, quantum. Again, I don't think you've necessarily. Oh, that is minion. Nope. Is it? Yeah, I guess it is. And Nimbus. All right, so you hit that one. Yeah, let's take a look. So this is Sophia. This is just I'm gonna go with Sophia all the way through, and Sophia's nice. There's nothing wrong with Sophia. Using this, you're leaning on the single weight. The italic is kind of not great. At least the italic and bold. The italic lower. The italic and a lighter weight isn't terrible. And then we've got New Haas. You came back to New Haas. New Haas is pretty fantastic. Although I do think that you need maybe a -2% on that, not a -4%. So pay attention to that. So there's some options here. Let's look at exercise part 2 and see what you got. So you've gone through and okay. So basically at this point you have kind of selected. This is the example for that quasi mood board here, and you've gone through and selected a few different palettes, but I haven't you've got like a green and keep in mind this is for a food delivery service, so really he's keying things off of foods and life and energy, and I think that these palettes all could work for that. It again, it really comes down to how do you use them, and that's what the sandbox is here for. But I haven't seen, we obviously don't have that in here yet, so I'm guessing that there's some effort coming for this. So it looks like exercise part 1. As I look at this, Luigi, the one thing I would say is I like this new Haas. I like how it pairs up. I'm not sure that you need the weight as tight as it's being displayed here. Sorry, I think that's New Haas and Kaluna. Yeah, that is. Sophia Pro is also really nice in Mackinac. So I there's a couple of pairings that you have that are really nice. I would watch out for the displays being utilized as text typography. There should be a text variant to lean on, and yeah, that's kind of where I would leave it. I really want to like hammer, because I made this mistake for a long time, where I would use a text, I would use a display font inside of text, and it's just not the typography isn't cut to be displayed at a very small size. If they have display in the name of that typography, that tells you right away, okay, this is like 2436 and up, not down. Like, I don't want to see a display typeface being used at 18 or 14. It's not meant for that. So let's go get that appropriate version of New Haas or Freight and get that in there. Okay. And I believe. Oh yeah, you had done one other bit of research here. Please excuse my dirty, dirty desktop. Yeah, Luigi had gone through. So you've picked apart the typography of Whole Foods, and one thing that I would encourage you to do is screenshot this stuff, throw it into a Figma file, like just have it to where you can look at it very quickly, or just include a screenshot here. I do think it's really nice to have a mental index of what everybody's using, and I want to show kind of how Luigi did that. So if you go to Whole Foods, and of course, I'm guessing this is how Luigi did this because I was not sitting there with Luigi as he did it. But if you come in and you I'm just going to highlight this text. Okay, I'm on the Whole Foods website. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to inspect element. So if you inspect element, we should be able to get in here, and this is something I cover more in depth as you get into front end. But you should be able to get in here and see that they use Corda, and then Georgia is the fallback, and then they just fall back ultimately to Serif. So if I turn that off, or if I just delete out this and I go to Serif, you can see how that changes. Like this is what the browser is going to load if nothing has been provided except for Serif. If I say Helvetica, changes to that. If I say Futura, changes to that. So you can come through, and if a font is available in the browser, you can change it to those things. Otherwise, it's gonna, this is clearly Corda. So if we look back at Luigi's list here, let's see if that aligns with what Luigi has. Luigi says they use Corda. He says secondary. So primary, Scalia. I'm trying to figure out where Scalia is. It's got to be this here. Let's inspect it. No, I've got Avenir up here. Circular. So they've got some interesting. Yeah, this is circular. Is that right? That is really weird, Whole Foods. Yeah, circular and so it's kind of interesting. They've got a few different fonts in here that I wouldn't anticipate. Yeah, Avenir. I've got Avenir here, circular there. That's a really messy combination. Like I really like this, Cordera, but I'm not seeing that as a secondary Luigi. So I want to kind of talk about this and figure out where you're getting that Scalia from. Or yeah, so Avenir, medium, Lucinda Grand. So that is really interesting. They have such a mess. I mean, that is a mess. They've got all of that. Yeah, look at this. Oh, God, that's terrible. Yeah, what a mess. Yeah, this reeks of different phases of time in the product life cycle. Like at some point they must have used Lucinda Grand, and then they just never changed it out. And then, because that's definitely what that is. And then you come, at least they've focused on this. But yeah, is that circular as well? Yeah, that's circular. Yeah, I recognize circular because I've used circular a few times on projects, and I knew that was not the other. What'd you have here? Yeah, Scalia. I knew that, but yeah. But what's interesting is you're not showing circular here at all. So, and the issue here is like I imagine that Scalia is somewhere in here. I don't see it as the primary though, Luigi. When I'm coming through here picking this apart, I've yet to run across Scalia. So maybe if I click on all cells, maybe it's in deeper. I don't know. But yeah, Whole Foods is a hot mess. Wow. Okay. Well, there's a reason why I haven't featured that. Um, let's see here. Trader Joe's. So, okay, so Trader Joe's has Baba's New, Alio, and Lotto. We all know Lotto. Lotto is a very common font. Let's look here at Trader Joe's and hopefully see something better than what we got there at Whole Foods. Gosh, man, I had no idea they were having such an issue. So look at the contrast here. Very high, very tall, slender typeface. And we get in here, and this is Baba's or Bibas. Come through further. We get that's Alo. So this is really like a slab serif. Kind of has that slab. Slab is where you get these very very blocky feet to everything. And this is Lotto. That's an italic version of Lotto. Come in here. Yeah, Lotto. So at some point they had Helvetica loaded in here, and they've overwritten it with Lotto. So there's been a bit of work here, but this is a hell of a lot less messy than we've got it. This is less messy than what we've got going on at Whole Foods. The utilization of typography here, while I could be picky about some of the spacing that's going on. The labels are the labels. The headers are the headers. The description text and links are the description text and links. Everything kind of has a job. So I think Whole Foods could be better if they would clean it up. Like it's a more interesting design, but when you get in there and you start looking at the typography, the reason why Whole Foods feels a little off is because they're using a lot of very similar typography to do the same job throughout. That's a holy mess. This is really interesting to me though. Blue Apron. So Blue Apron and Sunbasket, Caslon and Burton. That's hand-drawn version of Burton and Burford. Sarah and Chronicle Deck. Let's go look at Blue Apron, because when I'm hearing something that sounds a lot more a lot better thought out, frankly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm feeling this. So we're on the Blue Apron side. I'm just going to go to Blue Apron here. I want to look at their homepage. So very nice typographical pairings here. You can kind of tell that this is definitely trying to sell you on a service more so than it's trying to kind of tell you about the store. When we inspect here, I'm going to go ahead and it'll get a little more responsive, at least horizontally it got more responsive. But there's Sarah. You can see the fallback for this is just a bunch of Helveticas. They've got a ton of fallbacks. That's kind of amazing how many fallbacks they've got. We come back in here. I'm going to imagine, yeah, it's Sarah again. It's just a different weight. If we went in here and messed with this weight and we said, like 900, now it's getting back into the weight that of the item above it. But this has nice contrast to it. Also like the little illustrations. This just feels like a more a well thought out combination. Now, I do want to take a look at this because this that's Sarah as well. So yeah, I'm not seeing the other option that you were pointing to, Luigi. Maybe I haven't gone far enough in. Maybe Luigi's just been kind of roaming around the site. Either way, though, it's very clean. It's simple. Chronicle decks. Serif headline face brings strength. Header meal categories, meal names. Okay. Just because I want to go through and see this stuff. Let's talk about on the menu. Let's go to on the menu. Yes. Okay. So this is, you know, definitely playing a role, very different. So that's Chronicle deck right there. You know, you can, and then that it is a very elegant typeface. Nice stroke modulation from the skinny stem of the M to that cross axis on the M. Like, very nice pairing. Very nice. So as you're going through, I think what should be clear is companies that are really built for this, they're doing a better job of handling their typography. Like this is just really nice, really elegant looking. They do a lot of discontinued though, but I think it's kind of interesting to show you what has been what they've had and what they've had to pull off. Now we don't know why they've pulled those things off. Maybe they're sold out. But discontinued is kind of a weird. Like we get into microcopy, discontinued like scares me. It's like, why was it discontinued? Why don't we say out of stock or sold out? Like there's so many other things we can use that would be a little more satisfying to the user than discontinued. It reminds me of a time when we were building a Ruby on Rails database, and somebody who didn't understand that we were looking at we were looking at something that wouldn't be related to, would never be seen by the user, and the command for deleting the file was destroy, and they said, oh, we shouldn't use destroy. That's a really terrible term to use here. And everybody was kind of laughing because, like, well, the user's never going to see that. Yes, but we should really still never use the word destroy. Good times. Good times explaining tech. But here, like, something that the user can see, like, let's not use discontinued. That's not gonna make them happy. Let's keep going though. So I like Blue Apron a lot. If right now, if I'm looking in the clubhouse, I'm saying who am I copying? It's Blue Apron. That much better pairing. Trader Joe's is second. Whole Foods is just a hot mess. Let's look at the Sunbasket one too. And by the way, this is not something that I ask students to do. Like when I talk about being aware of your competition, I'm talking about you've done the research already. I'm not really looking for you to go through and dive in this deep. Although, boy, this is just paying off dividends at every turn. Sunbasket, we're just going to continue to cite. This is really nice pairing. Like, the job that this healthy delivered hero is doing is fantastic. Although they've got, so this is Burton Hand. And, you know, if you turn this into Georgia, you can just see that's what Burton Hand gave you. Oh, now Georgia's not bad, by the way. Like, Georgia's not doing a bad job. And this secondary piece here, the subhead, is Williams Caslon. So overall, I think this is a fine pairing. It is interesting. I talked about, boy, serif in a button. I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I'll be damned if they don't have serif in a button right here. One thing I'll say is that when you have serif in a button, I think the reason it's not throwing me for a loop here is the amount of space they have around it. So, typically speaking, you can get away with having the buttons be pretty tight to the edges of a serif, or a sans serif rather. But with the serif, it kind of juts out and it wants a little more space. And I think that may be why this is working here, because it's got a fair amount of space. I also, it just kind of lightens up when you go over it, which is nice. I am it doesn't do that over here in active, but I'm always trying to like greatest amount of change. But this is kind of the and it goes lighter and then darker. And I think the combination of lighter than darker is helpful on the interaction. And this kind of goes a little more toward what material design would tell you to do. If you've ever seen New Pragmatic's homepage, you know where I go with it. I flip it all the way, but a lot of that is the fact that it starts out white. It's like, where's it supposed to go? Super white? Like, I don't know. But anyway, here, orange to lighter orange to darker orange. That's nice. That's very nice. And I like the color palette here too. This is these oranges were orange and yellow. It's very analogous, kind of works side by side. And then there's this blue. And no thanks. There's this blue that comes in and acts as a complement, from the other side, and you don't see it utilized anywhere but then that one spot. And then you've got maybe this kind of this purple, which is very secondary in the palette, but again works nicely. This is just a really well designed. So this and Blue Apron, those are the ones you want to model. The Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, no way. Just leave those in the dust. The Sunbasket, I've never seen this site, so I'm glad you pointed it out. It's really well done. As is Blue Apron. So again, when you're looking for things to model or emulate, I think you found the key. All right, let's hop over to Rebecca as we wrap this up. So Rebecca, you've got some stuff inside of your case study. So cell-wise animation, you drop the GIF of the hero home animation, but it's not showing up. Let's take a look at that. If I could just find my way over here to VS Code. I'm going to go ahead and I'm on Cellwise right now. Let's just go live and see. Let's just look at it and see how it's reacting for us. So here's the page. Here's the project overview, atmosphere, spacing. And we kind of talked about this, but we'll come back to that. Information architecture, wireframes, animations. So this is the broken thing. So let's go ahead and take a peek at that. I'm just going to close as much of this as I can. Animations. Could be that it's all caps. I'm not sure. Also, I believe that should be self-closing, but let's take a peek. Yeah, it's saying I can't load that, so let's take a look and see what it's called. Images. It might be because it's in the images folder. So I think you're probably gonna have to do something like that. Get that in there as well. So let's take a look. And something happened. So what did we break? Did we break it? We did. All right. So we made it too wide, and that's fine. That's fine. At least we got it working. So now I'm going to put the class equals full, or full width. I'm going to put full there for a second. Search for full. Yeah, you use full here quite a bit. For those watching at home, we have a class that just says, hey, make this 100% of the container that you're in, and we use that a lot because it fixes a lot of stuff. And right now, yeah, okay, so that's interesting. It's got kind of a blink to it, but it's working. I'm curious how big that is. It's really large in size. So, and it's moving kind of slow, but, ow, sorry. And let's see what else. We've got this extra character there. So I'm seeing like our solutions in this. I'm kind of struggling to understand. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. The hero is up here. And then you've got your cell-wise animation, and then you got the solutions, and then the cell solutions PNG is down below. This feels like it needs some work in terms of size, but and speed. So maybe there's some work to do there. But I think and some spacing would be helpful as well. Like to get it off of this, but I am curious like what happens at this continues going down. It works pretty well there. So again, all you were having real trouble with, frankly, was the pathway to it, and then making sure that it actually fits the design. So we got that. Let's take a look at some of your other questions here. So that one's done. And in the animations, there are 2 images for demonstrating customizable platform. I like these images to be next to each other and stack on mobile. I'm not sure how to do that. Let's take a look. So it looks like this is the area that you're talking about. So you got half and half. But I'm guessing that these 2 things aren't going to necessarily just stack side by side. And I know you've done 2 column side by side designs before in your work. I want to come over here to CarePoint. I'd like to just find a solution that you've already built and utilized. That's kind of a weird section. Might want to take a peek at that. Cell-wise, let's look at Octa. I'm almost certain that we've got an Octa example here. Might be worth pulling this sort of approach in. So you've got this 2-call center. Like if you did 2 columns and then had the images inside of that, that might work for you. So let's go ahead and, let's come down here and look at that. So here we've got, if we just say div and class equals 2-call center. It's CSS you've already written. I don't want to write more CSS if I can help it. I'm just going to wrap this in that. Now half is going to work a little weird here. I think it's going to make it half of each of these columns. But let's take a peek at how Cellwise handles it. So here's Cellwise, we're coming down. Yeah, so now these are side by side, but they're half, right? You don't need them to be half, you need them to be full. Because you want it to fill the full column. I realized that previously you were wanting it to be half of the single column, but you needed some framing around that so it would stack side by side. Doing this now makes it side by side, and when it comes down in size, this should stay out. Now it's stacking. Yeah. Okay. So now that stacks. It stacks. It smacks, as my kid would say. Although she would be horrified if Dad was saying it. It smacks. God bless, my neck hurts. For the UX writing section, should I type up all of the screenshot elements instead of showing the image? You mentioned something like this in UX writing. How can I do that while showing some color interest to people who will be reading about it? Okay, sorry. Just transposed a little bit there. Alright, so UX writing. Oh, yeah, these, right? The biggest issue I've got, honestly, with this UX writing area is that at some point all of this becomes unreadable, and that if you were to come in and just have this and type, you can still put it in like a gray background. Just put it in a, create a little 3-column shape, 1, 2, 3, and have this type inside of it, and move forward, and just put the stuff in some sort of gray background like you have, but trapping it in an image, I can't begin to read that. I'm reading along and like, yeah, we want to leverage content of the website to position them as experts in the market. Here's some stuff that I can't read. So, and then the other question I have is like, can I make this excerpts? And then there's this, contact us, sanctified users. We're only 10 gigabytes per second away. And this is great, but it's like blown up out, it's like, it's too big. So I got too big, okay, too small. Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, I'm okay with putting it back in the trappings of, oh, this will have a gray background or whatever, but I'm not okay with just grabbing an image and tossing it in there, because it's just not going to resonate as the page goes up and down. And even this 3-column one's hard to read even at full width. Okay? Insert a few separately in a list that you created in the code, but the images are stretched and very distorted, and the class breaks a lot of other parts of the entire case study. I wasn't able to figure out where it's coming from. It's currently commented out in the code. Okay. This is the last one we're going to do here. we'll come back to that one. I know we have a call later in the day, but I want to take a look at this wireframe one. Yeah, you're saying that wide wire breaks a lot of code. Sure does. But wide wire is let's see here. Let's take a look at wide wire. Actually, let's just go over here and take a look at it. Yeah, the height is why it's stretched, Rebecca. Like that height that was in there in the background color, that was just for your benefit to kind of see like how this could be done, and I was just kind of putting a height in there to limit it. The width is 100%, margin bottom is minimal. The height needs to go away so that it like, because this all falls back into place once that, but it's the flex that really messes things up here, and gets everything going crazy wide. So there's some additional work that clearly needs to happen with wide wire, so that this display flex doesn't get out of hand. So let's go ahead and take a look at CSS Flexbox, because I'm almost certain that we've just simply missed a property. So display, flex direction. Yeah, probably it's, if I had to guess, it's probably this flex shrink. This defines the ability for a flex item to shrink if necessary. Also, there's flex wrap. So if we said flex wrap, no wrap, flex items will try to fit on one line. This is the default though. So flex start, I think flex start is the default. Stretches to fill the container. Let's put flex start on this. Align items flex start. So wide wire. Get rid of that. Let's say align items. Okay. Need to get rid of that green. Okay, so there's that. The wide wire. Okay, so this is just I think this just needs a so if we just said wide wire image and we just said flex shrink, that should work. So let's just come down to dot wide wire image flex shrink inherit. No, let's put it to like flex shrink 2. No. Alright, let's keep going here. You know, the other way to do this, yeah, let's get away from this and let's go with grid, and let's just go let's see if we've broken it. Okay, so grid is like, okay, everything's back to normal, and now I'm just gonna say grid template rows, or grid template columns. Let's see. I'm just going to do it this way right now, but I know there's a more eloquent way to write that, and I will pull that code in a second. It's gone really wide, which I don't like. And I think it's because we've not set a class on it to kind of tell it, hey, pay attention to what you're doing. So I'm gonna, instead of setting a class, I'll just say wide, because I don't really want, I don't have to put wide wire IMG with 100%. That'll keep me from having to put wide on each of them. And now they should fit. Yeah, they fit now. Like, where does this break, though, is my question. If we get down here, it's like we start getting to a point of breakdown, and I want to understand why the breakdown is occurring. Still going wide. Like, there's something going wide here, and I don't know what it is. Oh, it's this. Okay, so that's interesting. Interesting. All right, well, we've got something going on with this. I'm not sure what's happening there, but it's actually throwing everything off. It's not just our cell wise. It's throwing all that off as well. Okay. But what is happening to you? Yeah, it doesn't work when we get into mobile. So that's not actually this component down here. That's something that's happening from this bit of it added code. Not familiar with that. We haven't looked at that yet, so we'll need to do some more investigation to figure out why that is busted. Because I know it's supposed to draw in, but it's not doing what you would expect it to do. It might be an opacity issue, like it's supposed to be there, but like not show up. But it's definitely altering the width of this. So we have to come back to that. But we have fixed this. This is just reacting to the width of. Actually, it's stopping right where it's supposed to stop. So I'm going to push that up. It's more that we have an issue up here now, and we'll discuss that further during our call. But otherwise, I think we've we've gotten a lot of stuff cleaned up here. There's the wireframes. They don't break anymore. And yeah, I'll go ahead and just push this up. You got your got your animation here. We've got these stacking. We've talked about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and push this code up, and we're going to wrap this version of the feedback loop up for Memorial Day. So just make sure I don't have any other submissions. I don't. All right. Git add. Git commit. Git push origin master. And away it goes. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. I hope this was illuminatory for all of you. It was for me. Found a bug. We're going to fix that bug. You know, social distance. Like, have fun today. Chill out. Do your thing. But don't go jump in any really crowded swimming pools. Like, I'd like to have you all around a bit longer. I'd like the world to have you all around a bit longer, because we need really smart designers. But without further ado, I'm Chris Courtney. Thanks for dropping in, and I'll see you fine folks again tomorrow. Take care.